Commander John Miller took a deep breath as he stepped onto the raised platform in the center of the Galactic Council chamber. The massive room stretched in all directions, filled with hundreds of alien representatives seated in rising tiers. Their many eyes, sensory organs, and attention-focusing appendages all pointed at him, the lone human in the spotlight. His uniform still bore scorch marks from the battle 3 days ago. He had refused to change into a fresh one. These burns were evidence, a silent testimony to what Earth had endured. "The Council recognizes the representative from Earth," announced the moderator, a tall, willowy being with silvery skin. "You may present your case." John nodded, then activated the holographic display. Immediately, the chamber filled with images of the attack on Earth's outer colonies, mining stations torn apart, civilian ships cut down as they tried to flee, research outposts burning as their atmospheric shields failed. A low murmur spread through the chamber. Many representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. 6 days ago, without warning or provocation, the Viridian Collective launched this attack against Earth territories, John said, his voice steady despite his exhaustion. 27,000 civilians died before our defense fleet could respond. Admiral Scathrax of the Duraxian Empire rose from his seat. His hard exoskeleton clicked as he moved, pointing a claw-like appendage toward John. "You expect us to believe the Viridians attacked unprovoked?" The Admiral's translator boomed. "They are founding members of this council. Respected diplomats. Why would they risk everything to attack your minor world?" Behind John, the small human delegation exchanged glances. Captain Maria Banks stepped forward with a data crystal, which she inserted into the council's systems. "This was recovered from a damaged Viridian command ship," John explained as new images appeared. "Their attack plans, their target lists, evidence of years of preparation." The new holograms showed detailed maps of Earth's defenses, colonies, and supply lines. But more disturbing were the timestamps. Some of these files were created over a decade ago. The chamber erupted in shocked voices and exclamations in dozens of languages. "Impossible," shouted the Viridian representative. The tall, blue-skinned alien stood up, his facial membranes flaring with anger. "These are fabrications. Humans are known for their deception and..." "The data crystals have been authenticated by 3 independent council technicians," interrupted Ambassador Lisa Chen, another member of Earth's delegation. "The quantum signatures cannot be forged." An uncomfortable silence fell over the chamber. The moderator turned to the Viridian. "Representative Moxarel, do you deny the authenticity of this evidence?" The Viridian's membranes pulsed rapidly, a sign of extreme stress that every council member recognized. He said nothing, which was answer enough. "Earth was targeted for elimination," John continued, "not conquest, not subjugation. The Viridian plans called for the complete sterilization of our world." He brought up the final piece of evidence, a recording of a Viridian commander speaking to his fleet before the attack. "Today we remove a cancer from the galaxy," said the alien in the recording. "These humans evolve too quickly, adapt too readily. The predictions are clear. If left unchecked, within 3 centuries they will dominate council space. Better to remove them now, while we still can." The moderator's silver skin had darkened to a troubled gray color. "These are grave accusations, backed by disturbing evidence. This emergency session will recess for 2 hours while the High Council reviews all data. Commander Miller, your delegation will remain for questioning." As the chamber began to empty, a small, insect-like being approached John. The Arcturian representative's translator hummed to life. "We had no idea," the alien's mechanical voice said quietly. "Many of us would have stood with Earth had we known." John looked down at the small alien. "The question now is, who will stand with us after what happened next?" The Arcturian's compound eyes reflected the holographic images still floating in the air. "What did happen next, Commander?" John's face grew grim. "That's what I'm here to explain." Lieutenant Commander Susan Kelly moved silently through the abandoned Viridian outpost. The dark corridors of the base, built deep within Europa's ice, were eerily quiet. Her breath fogged in the cold air as she carefully stepped over fallen debris. The Earth military had received a tip about this location from an anonymous source in the Galactic Council. "Any life signs?" she whispered into her comm unit. "Negative," replied Sergeant Bill Foster from the entry point where he monitored her progress. "Place has been cleared out in a hurry, but power systems are still running." Susan nodded to herself. That matched their intel. The Viridians had abandoned this base only days ago, likely right after their attack on Earth failed. She reached what appeared to be the main control room. Dozens of screens lined the walls, most dark now, but one terminal still glowed with a faint blue light. "I found something," she reported, approaching the console cautiously. Years of military training had taught her to suspect traps, but her scanner showed no explosives or security systems. The terminal responded to her touch, probably because the Viridians never expected humans to find this place. What she saw made her blood run cold. "Bill, are you seeing this?" she asked, sending the feed to his display. "Holy," he whispered. "That's not just Viridian. Those are Trescan signatures, and Volturian. And is that Mentor script?" Susan's fingers flew over the controls, downloading everything she could. 5 additional species, all council members. This wasn't just a Viridian attack. It was a coalition. Back at Earth Fleet Headquarters, Admiral Frank Cooper stared at the data Susan had recovered. The room was silent as the Joint Chiefs processed what they were seeing. "A secret pact," Frank said finally, his voice heavy. "Signed by 6 council races to eliminate humanity." General Carla Wright shook her head in disbelief. "But why? We've never threatened any of them. We'd followed every council regulation since first contact." Frank pulled up one particular file, a risk assessment created by Viridian Intelligence. "According to this, it's not what we've done. It's what they think we might become." The document detailed humanity's rapid technological advancement since joining the galactic community. Humans had taken alien technologies and improved them in ways no one expected. Human adaptability, creativity, and their unusual thought patterns were all listed as concerning traits. "They're afraid of us," said Admiral Joe Peterson, the oldest member of the Joint Chiefs. "We're too unpredictable for them." Frank nodded. The Viridians ran simulations. Their models predicted that at our current rate of development, humans would be the dominant force in the sector within 3 centuries. "So they decided to wipe us out before that could happen," Carla said bitterly. Meanwhile, on Council Station, Diplomatic Officer Diane Martinez worked tirelessly in her small office. As reports of the attack on Earth spread through the station, many council races had withdrawn their staff, but a few remained. Diane focused on those who had shown sympathy. "The Arcturians have officially condemned the attack," she told her assistant Kevin as she reviewed messages. "And the Noravi ambassador wants to meet privately." Kevin looked up from his terminal. "That's good news. We need allies now more than ever." Diane nodded, but her expression remained serious. The Noravi were almost wiped out in a border dispute with the Viridians 50 years ago. "I think they see themselves in us." She pulled up a star chart showing known Viridian fleet movements. "What's interesting is where their ships are going. Look at this cluster near the Noravi homeworld." Kevin's eyes widened. "You think we weren't their only target?" Diane's face grew grim. "I think we were just the first. And if that's true..." She trailed off, then straightened her shoulders. "We need to warn the others. If Earth stands alone, we fall. But if we can build a coalition of our own..." As Diane drafted urgent messages to potential allies, Susan's team on Europa discovered something even more disturbing in the abandoned base: detailed attack plans for 3 other species, all scheduled to be eliminated after Earth. General Paul Wright stood before the massive holographic display in Earth's Strategic Command Center. Dozens of ships moved across the star map as officers called out status reports around him. The room buzzed with focused energy as Earth's military prepared its response to the Viridian betrayal. "Sir, The Dauntless Battle Group is in position near Arcturus, reported Captain Linda Moore from her station. Paul nodded. And the Valiant Group? Approaching the Naravi system now, sir. ETA 20 minutes. This was not the response the conspirators had expected. After the attack on Earth, the Viridians and their allies had prepared for a direct counter-assault. They had positioned their fleets to defend their home systems, expecting vengeful humans to strike back immediately. Instead, Earth launched Operation Lighthouse, a strategic repositioning of their entire fleet to protect vulnerable allied worlds. The Viridians are confused, said Intelligence Officer Steve Bennett, looking up from his reports. Their ships near their homeworld haven't moved in 12 hours. They're waiting for an attack that isn't coming. Paul allowed himself a small smile. Let them wait. Meanwhile, we secure our allies. The main doors slid open and Admiral Frank Cooper entered. The room briefly fell silent as officers acknowledged his presence with respectful nods. The Naravi have formally requested our protection, Frank announced. Their long-range sensors detected a Viridian attack fleet assembling at the edge of their system. Paul turned to face him. The same fleet that was supposed to attack them after Earth fell. Exactly, Frank confirmed. The Viridians are following their original plan, even though the first part failed. On the main screen, the Earth ships appeared as blue dots now entering the Naravi system. The red dots representing the Viridian forces seemed to hesitate, then began to withdraw. They're pulling back, Linda reported, surprise evident in her voice. They didn't expect us there. Paul nodded. And now, they know we've seen their full playbook. Meanwhile, on Council Station, Ambassador Greg Summers prepared to address the full Galactic Council. The emergency session had stretched on for days as more evidence came to light. The human delegation had grown from the original 4 members to over 20, as Earth sent its best diplomats and legal experts. Behind the scenes, Diane Martinez worked tirelessly, building a network of allies. She showed representatives from smaller council races the evidence Susan Kelly had recovered from Europa, the lists of species marked for containment or elimination. They plan to target your people next, she told the Kelbrid ambassador, a tall being with iridescent scales, after the Naravi. The Kelbrid's inner eyelids blinked rapidly, a sign of deep distress. This cannot stand. The council was formed to prevent exactly this type of aggression. In the Grand Council chamber, Greg Summers approached the central podium. The room was fuller than it had been in decades, with representatives from all 186 member species present, either physically or by hologram. Distinguished representatives, Greg began, his voice calm and measured. I come before you not seeking permission for revenge, though many would say Earth has earned that right. The chamber grew quiet. Instead, I present evidence of a conspiracy that threatens not just humanity, but the very foundation of this council. The main display activated, showing the movement of Earth's fleet, not toward Viridia or its allies, but forming protective cordons around smaller worlds. Even now, when we have every right to strike back, Earth chooses to protect. Greg continued. The Viridian attack fleet that was positioned to strike the Naravi homeworld has retreated because Earth ships arrived first. Murmurs spread through the chamber. We choose to defend, even when we have every right to punish, Greg said, his words echoing in the sudden silence. Because we believe the true strength of any civilization lies not in its ability to destroy enemies, but in its commitment to protect the innocent. As he spoke, news arrived of Viridian ships withdrawing from 3 other systems where Earth vessels had appeared. The conspiracy's carefully planned sequence of attacks was falling apart in real time, visible to the entire council. The moderator's silver skin had brightened to an almost luminous white, a sign of strong emotion. The council will recess to consider Earth's evidence and actions, but I must note that in my 400 cycles as moderator, I have never seen a more eloquent response to aggression than this. For 3 days, an uneasy peace held across the galaxy. Earth ships maintained their protective positions around allied worlds. The Viridian fleets stayed near their borders, neither advancing nor retreating further. On Council Station, debates raged as species took sides. Then everything changed. Alarms blared across Earth's command center as reports flooded in from 12 star systems simultaneously. Admiral Frank Cooper rushed to the main display, his face grim as red alert symbols appeared across the map. "They're attacking everywhere at once," reported Captain Linda Moore, her fingers flying across her console. "Not just Viridians. All 6 conspiracy species have launched coordinated attacks." Frank's eyes narrowed. "They realized we wouldn't strike first, so they're forcing our hand." The largest assault targeted the Procyon system, where Captain Laura Bennett commanded the Earth ship Indomitable. Her vessel, along with 2 smaller escorts, faced a fleet of 15 enemy ships. "We're outnumbered 5-1, reported her tactical officer, Sam Powell. "They're forming a containment pattern." Laura studied the enemy formation. Unlike the direct approach used against Earth's colonies, this attack showed careful planning. The enemy ships had positioned themselves to cut off all escape routes first. "They learned from their mistake," Laura said. "But so have we." She turned to her crew. "Prepare the Phantom Protocol." In normal space battles, ships relied on speed, shields, and firepower. But humans had developed something new, a combination of quantum physics and holographic projection that made a ship appear to be in multiple places at once. When the enemy opened fire, they targeted what looked like the Indomitable in the center of their formation. Their weapons passed through empty space as the real ship appeared behind their lines. "Target their command vessel," Laura ordered. "All weapons, fire." The Indomitable's attack caught the enemy completely by surprise. Their command ship shields failed under the concentrated barrage. Before they could recover, Laura's ship seemed to vanish again, reappearing elsewhere to strike another target. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out as Earth vessels employed tactics never before seen in galactic warfare. Ships jumped in and out of hyperspace in patterns thought impossible. Small fighters slipped through shield frequencies that should have been impenetrable. On Earth itself, civilian engineer Alan Davis worked with refugees from worlds already attacked by the conspiracy. In a hastily assembled lab, he combined Arcturian shield technology with Naravi sensor systems. "The beauty of it is its simplicity," he explained to a group of military officers. "These systems were never designed to work together, so the enemy has no countermeasures prepared." Within hours, the new defensive systems were being uploaded to Earth ships across the front lines. Vessels that had been taking heavy damage suddenly became much harder to hit. In the Sirius system, an Earth medical ship carrying wounded from earlier battles found itself surrounded by enemy cruisers. Instead of surrendering, the unarmed vessel activated one of Alan's hybrid systems. The pursuing ships suddenly lost all sensor contact, allowing the medical vessel to slip away to safety. On Council Station, the emergency session descended into chaos as reports of the new attacks spread. Ambassador Greg Summers stood calmly in the center of the storm, updating the holographic displays with live battle footage. "This is happening in 12 systems simultaneously," he announced. "The conspiracy has revealed its full extent." Many council members were horrified by what they saw. Nearly half rose from their seats and walked out of the chamber in protest, led by the Arcturian representative. "We will not sit in the same room as those who would commit such treachery," the Arcturian announced. "We call for an emergency assembly of all non-conspiracy worlds." As they departed, the Viridian representative, Supreme Commander Xelar, finally broke his silence. "You forced our hand," he said, his blue membranes pulsing slowly now, no longer showing stress but determination. "Our sacred texts warned us about your kind thousands of years before you achieved spaceflight." Greg stared at him. "What are you talking about?" Xelar's eyes narrowed. "The prophecy is clear. Humans will dominate the galaxy and reshape it in their image, unless we act now." News of the Viridian prophecy spread quickly through Council Station. The Grand Council chamber, once united, now stood divided. 89 species had withdrawn to form a separate assembly that condemned the conspiracy. The remaining members argued bitterly over whether to support or oppose the attacks. Ambassador Greg Summers watched the chaos from Earth's embassy, where he met with representatives from 20 allied worlds. "So their entire reason for attacking us is a religious text?" asked the Noravi ambassador, her feathered crest rising in disbelief. Greg nodded. Supreme Commander Xeeler quoted from what they call the Book of Warnings. Their oldest religious text contains a prophecy about a species that would rise quickly and reshape the galaxy. The Arcturian representative clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Many species have prophecies. Few launch wars over them. Outside the embassy windows, they could see ships arriving and departing as council members either fled the station or brought in reinforcements. The situation was growing more unstable by the hour. Meanwhile, on Earth's research station horizon, Dr. Olivia Peterson worked frantically to understand the Viridian mindset. As Earth's leading genopsychologist, she had been studying Viridian culture for years. "I think I found something," she told Admiral Frank Cooper over a secure channel. The Viridians evolved as prey animals on their homeworld. Their entire psychology is built around identifying and eliminating threats before they become dangerous. Frank frowned. "You're saying their aggression is actually fear-based?" Olivia nodded. "Exactly. In their evolutionary history, they survived by striking first at predators. They're biologically predisposed to preemptive attacks, and now they've convinced 5 other species to join them." This insight proved valuable as the battles continued across the galaxy. Earth forces began targeting Viridian command ships specifically, knowing that without central direction, their attack formations would become less coordinated. On the front lines, Earth's fleet continued to employ unpredictable tactics. In the Vega system, Commander Eric Butler used his ships to protect a Crusian colony world, despite the fact that the Crusians were part of the conspiracy. "Why defend them when they tried to destroy us?" his first officer asked. Eric's answer was simple: "Because that's not who we are. We protect the innocent, regardless of what their leaders do." The Crusian people, who had been told humans would show no mercy, were shocked by this protection. Many began questioning their government's decision to join the conspiracy. Back in the divided council chamber, the situation reached a breaking point when Supreme Commander Xeeler brought forth new orders from the Viridian High Command. "We will no longer limit our targets to military assets," he announced. "Earth's colonies have 24 hours to surrender or face planetary bombardment." The chamber erupted in outrage. Even some species who had remained neutral now stood in protest. "This violates the most sacred law of the Council," shouted the moderator, his silver skin now nearly black with anger. "Civilian worlds are never valid targets." Xeeler remained unmoved. When facing extinction, all measures are justified. In that moment, a junior member of Earth's delegation approached Greg with an urgent message. Dr. Peterson had made another breakthrough. "The Viridian High Command is lying to their own people," Greg announced, interrupting the chaos. "We've decrypted internal communications showing their scientists disproved the prophecy 300 years ago." He displayed the evidence on the chamber screens, a classified Viridian study, concluding that the ancient text had been mistranslated. The original prophecy wasn't about humans at all. "The ruling class has been using this false prophecy to maintain power," Greg continued. "They've built their entire society around fear of external threats, and they need us as their latest enemy." As this revelation spread across the galaxy, something unexpected happened. A Viridian battle cruiser in the Procyon system broke formation and sent a message to the nearest Earth ship. "This is Sub-Commander Tellara of the Viridian Military Science Division. Many of us have questioned our leader's claims. We seek asylum and wish to share critical information about the conspiracy's next targets." The defection of Sub-Commander Tellara sent shockwaves through the conspiracy. Within days, ships from 3 of the 6 conspiracy species approached Earth forces seeking amnesty and alliance. Earth's Strategic Command set up a secure base on Mars to meet with these former enemies. "We were coerced," explained Submatriarch Yelena of the Cresians. Her scaled skin shimmered under the lights of the conference room as she addressed Admiral Frank Cooper and his staff. The Viridians threatened to reveal secrets that would have destroyed our government. Similar stories came from the Volteri and Mentor representatives. Blackmail, threats, and in some cases outright deception had been used to build the anti-Earth coalition. Sealer and the Viridian High Command have been planning this for decades, explained a Volteri commander named Drex. They needed allies to make it look like a legitimate security action instead of religious zealotry. Frank nodded slowly. And now that their real motives are exposed, the alliance is fracturing, confirmed Yelena. But Sealer still commands significant forces. They'll strike harder now, growing desperate. The most difficult meeting was yet to come. Captain Ryan Miller had been assigned to work directly with the defectors to develop a joint strategy. His entire family had died in the initial attacks on Earth's outer colonies. The pain was still fresh. Ryan entered the conference room, his face expressionless as he faced those he had considered enemies just days ago. He placed a tablet on the table and began without preamble. "We need to know their next targets and defensive capabilities," he said, his voice cool and professional. Drex, the Volteri, studied Ryan's face. "You lost someone in the attacks." Ryan's jaw tightened. "My wife, my son, my parents, all on Europa Station." The room fell silent. Finally, Yelena spoke. "There is nothing we can say to make this right, but we can help prevent more deaths." She activated a holographic display showing Viridian fleet movements. Their next major target is the Council Station itself. Sealer plans to destroy it and blame Earth forces. Ryan forced himself to focus on the tactical information, pushing aside his personal feelings. Over the next several hours, the unlikely allies developed a plan to protect the station and isolate the Viridian leadership rather than punishing their entire civilization. "Most Viridian citizens don't even know what their leaders are doing," explained Tilara. "They believe they're defending themselves against human aggression." Ryan looked at her. "My family believed they were safe on a civilian research station." He paused, then added quietly, "But targeting their civilians won't bring mine back." Back on Earth, Admiral Cooper presented the joint plan to the United Earth Defense Council. Some members were skeptical. "We're supposed to trust the word of defectors?" asked General Carlo Wright. "This could be a trap." Frank nodded. "It could be, but our intelligence confirms their information so far. And the plan focuses on minimizing casualties on all sides." The council chamber fell silent as members considered the proposal. Finally, President Leo Warren spoke. "Throughout this conflict, we've maintained the moral high ground. We protected others when we could have sought revenge. We defended even those who allied against us." He looked around the table. "We will not abandon that principle now when victory is within reach." The vote was unanimous. Earth would implement the joint plan, focusing on isolating the Viridian leadership rather than destroying their civilization. On Mars, Ryan Miller worked through the night with the defectors, finalizing details. As dawn broke over the red landscape, Yelena approached him. "You have every reason to hate us," she said, "yet you work alongside us to save lives." Ryan looked up from his work. The anger was still there, but something else had emerged alongside it. Determination to end the conflict without more senseless death. "That's the difference Sealer never understood," he replied. "Humans can feel rage without being controlled by it. We can choose a better path, even when the easier one beckons." As he spoke, signals arrived from Fleet Command. The Viridian attack force was moving toward Council Station earlier than expected. The final confrontation was about to begin. Council Station hung in space like a gleaming jewel, its multiple rings slowly rotating around a central hub. Usually bustling with diplomatic traffic, today the station was nearly abandoned as most species had evacuated after learning of the Viridian attack plan. Admiral Frank Cooper stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship Guardian, watching as the combined Earth-allied fleet took defensive positions around the station. "Viridian forces approaching," reported his tactical officer. 30 ships, heavy cruiser class. They're powering weapons. The plan developed with the defectors was now in motion. Rather than meeting the Viridians in open space, Earth ships had positioned themselves between the attackers and the station. If Sealer wanted to destroy the Council's symbolic heart, he would have to fire through human shields. All ships, defensive formation Omega, Frank ordered. Remember, we're not just protecting the station. We're showing the galaxy who we really are. The Viridian flagship approached, its massive form dwarfing many of the Earth vessels. Supreme Commander Xeller's voice came through on all channels. Stand aside, humans. This conflict is beyond your understanding. The station must be destroyed to purify the Council. Frank responded calmly. We will not move. If you wish to destroy the station, you'll have to destroy us first, and everyone will witness your true nature. On the station itself, Ambassador Greg Summers had stayed behind with a small team of diplomats and technicians. They had set up a broadcast center in the main council chamber, transmitting the confrontation to every world in the galaxy. This is Ambassador Greg Summers, he announced. We are showing the unedited feed of what is happening at Council Station. No commentary, just truth. The feed showed Earth ships absorbing the first Viridian attacks, their advanced shields glowing as they took hits meant for the station. Most importantly, they did not return fire. Billions of beings across thousands of worlds watched as humans willingly placed themselves in harm's way to protect the very institution that had failed to protect them. On Mars, Captain Ryan Miller monitored the battle alongside the defectors. Telara, the Viridian scientist who had first sought asylum, pointed to a weakness in Sailor's formation. There, she said, their command ship's rear shields are weaker. A focused ion burst there would disable their weapons without destroying the ship. Ryan relayed the information to the Guardian. Frank acknowledged and ordered a small, swift Earth vessel to circle behind the Viridian formation. As the battle continued, something unexpected happened. More Viridian ships broke formation, refusing to fire on the defensive Earth vessels. Sealer's frantic commands went unanswered as his fleet began to disintegrate. They're standing down, reported Frank's tactical officer, surprise evident in her voice. The Earth ship behind the Viridian command vessel fired a precision ion burst. The massive ship's lights flickered, and its weapons went offline. Viridian flagship is disabled, came the report. We're receiving a signal. Sealer's officers are surrendering. They've confined him to his quarters. A cheer went up across the Earth fleet, but Frank raised his hand for silence. This isn't about victory. It's about what comes next. 3 days later, representatives from 37 species gathered in the council chamber. The division that had split the council was healing as species from both sides came together. Admiral Frank Cooper stood with Ambassador Greg Summers as they prepared to sign the new Galactic Charter. This document establishes a new foundation for our shared future, Greg announced to the assembled delegates and the billions watching across the galaxy, based not on fear or domination, but on mutual defense and transparent governance. Sub-Matriarch Yelena of the Cresians, now representing her people officially, was among the first to sign. So was Telara, now appointed as the interim Viridian representative. When it was Frank's turn, he paused before applying his signature. Earth could have demanded special status or reparations, he said, but that would only continue the cycle of power and fear that led to this conflict. Instead, we choose to be equals in this new beginning. As the signing concluded, a small holographic display in the center of the chamber showed a classroom on a distant world. Alien children of various species sat together, learning about what historians were already calling the Revelation War. Their teacher, a young Arcturian, explained, "What makes this conflict unique in galactic history is not how it began, but how it ended, not through vengeance, but through an unexpected mercy that transformed us all."